Hello, everybody. This is Brenda Miller. I'm a Stampin' Up! Demonstrator in Basking Ridge, New Jersey, and I go live every Wednesday to share with you some of the things that I'm working on, you know, things that are new, things coming up, all that kind of stuff. And today I have a card to share with you that I will be featuring in my class. It's an in-person class on Friday. So hello to everyone who is watching this in anticipation of that class. And hopefully you'll learn a couple of tricks. And for the rest of you, hopefully you can recreate this card on your own. All the dimensions and supplies will be in the text below the video that you'll see on your screen. So anyway, let's hop over to my desktop and see what we're talking about. Okay, so for today we are taking a look at the country. It's part of the Country Woods suite. So you can see in the catalog, this is the suite, and it features two different stamp sets and a bunch of other things. And we are going to be working with this particular bundle. This is called the Country Flowers, and you can see there are lots of samples of what you can make with that. And here is the stamp set. It's right here. So it's Country Flowers, and then these are all the dies that go with it, and it's just really just so pretty, and can be used for so many different things. They do have a sympathy sentiment, sending love, so lucky to know you, best friend ever. But we're just going to use the sending love. And I also wanted to point out to you some other things. The first is this embossing folder. This is the eyelet embossing folder, and I'm going to be using this, and I'm going to use it in a different way, slightly different way. And so I wanted to share that with you. This is a 3D embossing folder. Okay, and there are also some other items that I'm actually not using on the card today, but I am using on other cards that are going to be in the class. And then there are two different styles of designer series paper, and I'm focusing today on the Country Lace, and it has some very pretty designs in soft muted colors, and it all just goes together so beautifully. So that is what we're working on, and I have a sample of the card, but remarkably I cannot find it. I had it in my hand not long ago, so you're going to get to see me do it live. All right, so we're going to start with a piece of Misty Moonlight cardstock. I'm going to fold it in half and give it a nice score. All my supplies are already out on the tables, so I'm using my backup supplies here for the camera. That's okay though, you don't mind. All right, so I wanted to show you a couple of the different designs of the designer series paper. We have these three, and actually there is a blue and white, more like a ticking stripe, and when I find the card sample, that's the one that has it on it, of course. But anyway, you see how this is the lace design, and then there are stripe designs on the back, different stripes, and this is kind of like a denim look. So for the class, just for those of you, I have both of these out for different designs that you can make, only because I didn't quite have enough of the designer series paper for any one particular design. So I'm going to go ahead and use these two this time around, and we're going to make this the background for the card. So I'm going to start with this, and using my Stampin' Seal, I'm going to push this on the right side of the card and leaving that little border. I always like to leave a little border all the way around. Just adds a lot of interest. This piece is 5 1/4 by 2 inches. And then I'm going to be putting this piece on. But before I do, one of the things that I discovered is that I thought about it, and I said, boy, maybe this matches the eyelet. And guess what? It does not. Ha! I bet you thought I was going to say it does. It does not, but it does look a lot like it. So what I did is I went ahead and I embossed it anyway. And so I put it through. Just for those of you to know, you need to use, because it's a 3D embossing folder, you'll be using the plate number 4, the specialty plate, when you put it in your machine. Just follow the directions on the plates. But I just put it in there, and look what happens. comes out like this. And I bet, I don't know, I felt like it just looked like it was textured in the right places, even though it is not. And actually, it's not even close. But you can see that it kind of just gives that look. And I actually really liked it. So I went with it. Here we go. So now I'm going to use, oop, I think I put all my wet glue on the tables. Let me just see if I have another one. Okay. Normally I would use wet glue for this. You know, I like to do that when I'm using an embossed image, but as I mentioned, I'm, you know, getting ready for classes and such. And you'll see there's an overlap here, and that's because I wasn't sure how I wanted to cut it, so I wanted to give myself some room. But this is 5 1/4 by 2 1/4, as opposed to just 2. Okay, so there's our background for our card. And while we're here, let's go ahead and, well, when you're making the card, you'll put white on the inside. Unbelievable. Having one of those days. Always seem to. So now we're going to work with the pot. Okay, so let's bring out the stamp set again. So we have our country flowers, and we're going to be using this flower. There's a teapot, there's a flower pot. We could put it on a stool, and you'll see that the dies coordinate. Having a banner day here. They're usually in there, but I must have put them out on the table. But here is the die that goes with this. So you can see we can stamp this and cut it out. So I'm going to take my, I'm using basic gray for this. Basic gray ink pad. Tap, tap, tap. Put it on here. And then with a little bit of washi tape help, I'm going to lay this down. And I found that this particular die really needs the washi tape to hold it in place. You can use a Post-it note, whatever works for you, but just something to, when you line it up, you get it in place, you take it over to your machine, you cut it out, and it looks like that. So very cute. We'll go ahead and put this on the card using dimensionals. So here we have dimensionals. I'm just going to pop one on the back. And I'm going to put that right here. Now, what you can also do with this stamp set is you can stamp these images, and then there are dies to cut those out. But instead, what I chose to do was to take 2 pieces of, you know, pretty flowers. So this is garden green, and I'm going to use garden green for these leaves. Now, these leaves do not line up with the images. There are other ones that dies that line up with the images. So these look very nice just standing alone. And the same thing with these flowers. It's kind of like a ring of flowers, and you can just lay them down, cut them out, and this is what they look like when you get them back. So here we have our pretty designs. Okay, so here I'm going to just poke that up, came right out. And so now we want to put this on top of our flower can, and I want it to look something like this. You can arrange it however you want. And what we need to do is use either mini dimensionals or our regular dimensionals. If you're using your regular dimensionals, I'm just going to show you, you can either use the edges and just with a pair of scissors that are not ribbon scissors. Those of you who who come to my classes know that my ribbon scissors are ones that we used to carry, these big ones, and I like to keep them sharp so they have a little dangle on them, and they are only used for ribbon. Do not use it on something adhesive. So I'm going to go ahead and just cut it into little pieces. Hi, Karen. Welcome from Philly. You're not too far from me. Let's see. And I'm just going to put a few of these on. And the other thing you can also do, so if you run out of edges, let's just say, you can also just cut your regular dimensionals into, you can cut them in half or any size that you want. So you don't necessarily need to have the mini dimensionals, although they are handy. And I do have them for class, for those of you coming to class. Okay, so peeling that off. And I'm going to go ahead and lay that down. And there we go. All right, get that out of the way. And when we're working with the flowers, I'm actually just going to I would normally use the wet glue, but I put my wet glue away, as we all know from before. So I'm just going to use my Stamp and Seal, which works beautifully, especially if you have this. This is a silicone mat. We sell these, and it just helps resist the adhesive so it stays on your paper, and it also keeps your mat from getting sticky. So great little tool to have. And I'm just going to put this on, and you can position it however you want. It's not a full circle, and that's okay. All right, so that's how our flower pot looks. Now we could have put Fresh Market in there if we wanted to, but I'm going to stamp the sentiment. So for the sentiment, I'm just going to take this 1/2-inch strip of basic white cardstock. Now I don't usually do this, but it is a current trend. A lot of people are doing this. So if you wanted to, you could just, when you come to class, you could just go ahead, stamp this right in the center, and then you could trim your edges. Now that wasn't stamped very well. I can't really see because I have the camera in my head, so I'm just going to pull it off down here so I can see better. Try to make sure that oh, that's even worse. Okay, so let's pretend I got that really good. One of those days, as I said. But anyway, it does fit on the 1/2-inch, but I might cut some that are a little wider for you. But you're going to just take your scissors, and with your Stampin' Snips, you're just going to go around the words, and I'm sure you've seen people do this. And again, I don't always, I don't really like the way that I cut, but the big tip when you're cutting paper is to turn the paper and not the scissors. So you see that my scissors are staying in one place, and I'm just turning the paper around, and it'll come across the top, and you can go as close to the image as you want and make as many waves as you want, or you could just keep it more to straight lines like I'm going to do on this side. So you would hopefully get the top of your L when you're doing it. If it was stamped, I would have rounded around it. And there we have our Sending Love. Now, to put this on, this is really skinny, right? So again, we're going to do the same thing we did with the leaves, and we're going to use either the edges or small parts of our Stampin' Dimensionals. I like using the edges, but because I like using them so much, I run out of them. But there's always more, right? So here I'm going to cut this one. We also have strips of dimensional like material. So you could always use those too and cut those down. That's what they're designed to do. All right, so we have our Sending Love, and we just want to go ahead and add it to our card. And there we have it. So just a couple of fun little extras on here. It's the cutting of the word, just the way that we can use the dies, and then using that embossing folder on the lace designer series paper, even though it doesn't match. Just something to be aware of. And I will post the original that I did as soon as I find it. As I mentioned, I had it here and it disappeared, but I'm sure it'll turn up very shortly. So that is all I had for today. But if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me. You can email me, message me, whatever works for you. And look for me next week. I'll have some more projects for you. And if you're interested in taking class, please let me know as soon as possible. That's for the in-person class this week at my home in Basking Ridge, New Jersey. And I'll also have my Zoom classes at the end of the month. So I have all the information on my website if you want to see that. And I have to say, some really great cards for that Zoom class. And I know that because I spent a lot of time die cutting. So lots of die cuts on there. So anyway, thank you all for joining me. Thanks, Karen. Nice to see you. Take care. Bye-bye.